There is a place where the lost embers go as their light begins to fade.
Watching my character row his boat to the last campfire, I contemplated on how this game pulled me into its world, how solving each puzzle made me hungry to solve more, on how this journey tells a story about existentialism, death, and hope. The game opens the same way as it closes, with these little creatures dressed in sacks called embers, rowing a boat to their final resting place, which is the last campfire. Then, a red ember gets lost and trapped, setting up the events of the game. We are then introduced to the game's protagonist, who wears a blue sack and is just called Ember. They wake up on a small island with their boat washed ashore nearby. Alone and confused, you follow the path ahead and are greeted by a light trapped in a cage. Once you touch it, you start the first puzzle of the game. Upon solving this puzzle, the light is freed from this cage and guides you to a campfire where the light restores life back into a statue present there. That's when the ghost of the campfire appears, explains where you are, and tells you that the statue is a forlorn, an ember who has lost its way and its light. He asks you to restore the light to the other forlorns and guide them back to the campfire, where he will take care of them until they are ready to move on. Once you rescue all the forlorn in an area, the ghost opens the path forward, and you save more forlorn at the next campfire. And here you have the setup for the game. Find a campfire, speak to the statue, rescue forlorns, go on to the next area. The Last Campfire tells a story about helping others to move on, and by doing so, moving on yourself. Our protagonist, Ember, is someone who just wants to help everyone. Besides having the typical protagonist characteristics of bravery and courage, Ember is a blank slate. Their gender is never mentioned, being referred to as they throughout the playthrough. It's a nice way of portraying a character onto whom you can project your own identity without going into a character creation screen. Ember could be anyone, or they could be no one. Ember only wants to save everyone they come across, and you are there to guide them to that objective. Besides rescuing the forlorn and speaking to the campfire ghost, there are other NPCs, like the forest king, the ravenous pig, the turtle chef, the steam builder robot, each having interesting stories of their own that are integrated well into the main plot and worth seeing to their own conclusions. The gameplay is basic, there's no difficulty slider, and there are no combat encounters. Your main character can walk, run, pick up a few important items, and interact with a few in-game objects. It's simple, it's effective, and for this game, it works. You never feel hindered by the lack of jumping or shooting. Your progress is linear throughout the game. You find a campfire, speak to the ghost, and then rescue a few forlorn, and repeat the process until the end. You can rescue forlorn in any order that you find them, but the plot proceeds linearly. The campfires serve as hub areas where you can talk to the rescued forlorn and ask the ghost for hints regarding the location of the other forlorn. It may seem repetitive, but it's not, and none of the game mechanics overstay their welcome. I appreciated the development process of this game more during my second playthrough. There's a puzzle around every corner. You have to solve a puzzle to open a new area. You have to solve a puzzle to restore the light of a forlorn. There's a snake in your way, there's a puzzle to move it away. Puzzles upon puzzles layered on each other and beautifully blended together. The only other game that comes to mind with this level of intricacy in its puzzles and world design is The Witness. The puzzles are simultaneously similar but different. Mechanics introduced earlier are mixed and matched throughout the game to make them all unique. None of the puzzles are created equal. Some are easy, while others are real head scratchers. The best thing about these puzzles is that the solution is never impossible, and not once did I feel frustrated or stuck behind a puzzle. Most of the time, the answer is just staring you right in the face, waiting for you to go, "Oh damn, that's it?" There's no penalty for failing to solve a puzzle. You can retry them as many times as you want. There are also a few in-game items that you find which are used to unlock pathways and solve the puzzles in an environment. The only item you regularly use is called a lanthorn, which can move certain objects to solve many of the game's puzzles, especially in the second half of the game. I was hoping to find another item or a mechanic like this, but the lanthorn was the only one. You don't need to restore all the forlorn in an area to move on. There are some optional forlorn that you can skip out on, but I recommend finding them all. Also, there are secrets in the form of diary entries and messages that I encourage you to go out and look for, as in these optional objectives you find the most interesting puzzles. I've purposely avoided showing the solutions to any of the puzzles because figuring them out for yourself is such a satisfying experience. The simple and effective gameplay is accompanied by cute graphics, a fantastic art direction, hauntingly beautiful music, and a calm narration, which all come together to make Ember's journey a joy to experience. Rachel August has done an amazing job with the voice acting. She not only narrates the story, but also does all the dialogue between Ember and the characters. The hint of a Scandinavian accent in her voice adds an air of mystery to the whole journey.
The little Ember spoke hesitantly. How do you continue, never knowing if we'll reach the end? I can't let another in right now. Ember shared a moment with the forlorn and hoped they would find what they needed. The skull was disgusting. Perhaps the pig would like it.
Paul Weir, who is the composer for No Man's Sky, has also composed the music for this game. He's done a fabulous job here as well. The soundtrack for the game sets up the atmosphere perfectly, and the game is best experienced with headphones. Each track informs you about the situation you are in, whether it's something cheerful or something morose. The game runs at a constant 60 FPS without any performance drops. I only encountered one bug throughout my playthrough, where my character got stuck here. I tried recreating it after a restart, but it didn't happen, so I chalked it up to an exception. The Last Campfire, like Spaceland, is power hungry and heats up the iPad a fair bit, so you have to connect it to a plug for an extended play session. Holding a hot iPad which is charging is pretty uncomfortable. I think this is going to be a common element for all these Apple Arcade games. This is one of the reasons I preferred playing this game with a controller. The other reason is that this game feels a lot better with a controller, and there's more precise control and less accidental touches. Also, holding down a button to run is far less annoying than tapping the screen every 2 seconds. The Last Campfire is a game you can play in short bursts. Rescue a forlorn or two, solve a puzzle, and come back to it later. The game auto-saves, so it's convenient. However, when I played it, I got completely engrossed in it, and I personally feel that that's how you should experience this game. During the review process for Spaceland, I kept pausing the game to write down notes or record gameplay. But with this game, I completely forgot I was playing it to write a review about it, and I had to replay it for the review. It's a game that hooks its claws into you and keeps you engaged throughout the experience. This is a must play if you have an Apple Arcade subscription, and this one game has so far made my purchase of the subscription worth it. The Last Campfire sets the standard for what a small studio can bring to the gaming industry. It's a game that makes you think about the transcendental concepts like life after death, the afterlife, hope, and your own existence. It is a journey you have to experience for yourself. I forgot to mention two things in my last review. Firstly, I play these games on an iPad Pro with a DualShock 4 controller, occasionally using the touch controls or a Bluetooth mouse, so you can gauge the performance of the game accordingly on your own devices. Secondly, I did not mention the other platforms that these games are available on. If these reviews convince you to play these games, but you don't have an iOS device, you can check out both this game and the previous review Spaceland on the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, the Xbox One, PC, or Macs. If you enjoyed this review and would like to see more, do support this channel by subscribing, commenting, and sharing this video. Any additional comments and feedback are welcome. If you'd like me to review any specific Apple Arcade game, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time.